everybody. In this episode, we're going to talk about David and Crazy Cody. Let's go. Hi, everybody. We are recapping Sister Wives, Season 18, Episode 18, One-on-One, Part 4.
That was a mouthful.
The second half of it. I have to confess to you, I just recorded about an hour and 45 minutes worth of video. No, not true. I just sat here and talked for an hour and 45 minutes, and the record button was not hit.
I hate it when that happens.
I don't know what I clicked, how that happened, but I will still cover all the content. I just won't be as verbose in between because it's getting late. It's after 10 o'clock at night. All right, let's get going. So we start off with David joining the show. And let me just say, I think David's perfect for Christine. He really is. I like him. I like him so much more than her describing him. And I like her with him because this is a calmer Christine. David has a very serene, calm presence about himself. And it really brings Christine to a calm, happy, content place. It's beautiful to see. They work really well together. They look good together. I think they're a perfect match. He comes in, he's nervous, but not as nervous as Suki is. I mean, Christine seems excited that he's there. I think she's a little bit nervous too. I think they're all just nervous about the situation, but Suki says, I've heard so much about you, and I think he said something to the effect of, I hope it was good, and she just busts out laughing like a hyena. Made no sense. And Christine was too, both of them. That normal Christine high frenetic energy, like Suki was right up there. Both of them were there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What just happened here?
Hi, David. So nice to meet you. Pleasure to meet you. Heard so much about you.
Oh, hope it's good.
Good. Whatever. I love his paws. I know.
It was odd, but let's go on. Suki asked David to talk about himself a little bit. And he shares that he was married and that his wife died 11 years ago. He has 8 children and 10 grandchildren, of which Christine was very stoked about all the grandkids. I do know from one of you wonderful sleuths out there who wrote in a comment under my last video that David's wife passed away from suicide 11 years ago, which is so sad and so tragic. And it actually makes me even happier about this union. Even though I didn't know David before, I'm just happy that he's found this love of his life. I couldn't imagine going through something like that, so traumatic, and then having all these kids and grandkids and having to be their rock through it all. So, bless him. He said after his wife passed away that he eventually started dating, and he dated for a while and it was fine and fun, but nothing really came of it in terms of significance. And so eventually he just stopped and gave it up. But apparently he still had the app and he was on there, and Christine saw him and stalked him and just kept contacting him and said, let's get together. So she was the aggressor in the situation. He was like, okay. He said when they first matched, he was just going to swipe left initially because that's what he had been doing, but something made him stop. And then he realized who she was. He said he knew of her, but his daughter must have known more because she's the one that's like, yeah, Dad, you're being catfished. That's not Christine Brown, which is ironic, the whole catfish thing. But in the end, Christine was real. He wasn't catfished. They got together and it was instant falling in love. On his second date, it was close to his birthday, and Christine said, what do you do on your birthday? And he said, well, I always take everybody out to dinner and pay for it, which seemed like overly generous and surprised me at first. And then I realized, wow, he's got 8 kids and all these grandkids and all these spouses too. When I see my kids, of course I pick up the bill every time we go out. I go down to Nashville to see my daughter. She makes more money than my husband and I together combined, plus her husband. I still pick up the bill because that's what you do when you're a mom and a dad. So I get it. the get together for everybody is probably not all these wild, like college friends and everything. He's probably getting his whole family together, and it's probably enormous if he's got 8 kids and 10 grandkids.
It's a very large family.
Plus spouses. So it's a generous thing for him to do for his own birthday. And Christine says to him, I want to take you out. And he said, okay, but let me take you to a show. Do you like plays? She said she likes plays. He said during the play, she was very emotional. She cried. She laughed. She was completely connected to it. And he just loved her emotion. And he said he could just tell that she just had a love of life, which is a great way to describe Christine, really. Like her or hate her, she does have that love of life. Suki then asked David if Christine was his physical type. Now, this is the first of many inappropriate questions. And it really, really bothered me. Some of them are too invasive. Some of them are just inappropriate. A lot of them we don't need to know or care about. But after the fact, and after watching it and recording the whole last video, which didn't get recorded, me sitting here talking about it for an hour and a half, made me realize that Christine and Suki are close. And Suki talks to her like she's a girlfriend, and she's laughing a lot and she smiles a lot when it comes to David. I noticed that in the previous episodes. I'm like, she's very different with Christine. She kind of is with Mary. Well, maybe even Janelle. She's not that way with Robin at all.
No.
With Robin, she kind of pities her because she's kind of so pathetic in these one-on-ones and just seems miserable and crying or fake crying or whatever. But Suki's not having a good time with her, but she definitely is with Christine most of all. And you realize as they get talking that Suki's going to the wedding. Mary's not even going to the wedding, but Suki's going to the wedding. Like, they've become close. So I think that some of the inappropriate, invasive questions are because Suki feels comfortable with Christine. So now I'm giving her a pass for the invasive questions because it's kind of like a girlfriend talking to a girlfriend. Was it necessary? No. Did we need to hear it? No. Could TLC have edited it out? Yes. But it is what it is, and it doesn't bother me as much as it once did. So after she asks David, is Christine your physical type? He says, oh yeah. And then he goes on to talk about her character, her energy, her bubbliness. And he said his favorite quality of hers, most of all, is her quirkiness. She's quirky. It's perfect. Match made in heaven. So I love how he took her question about, tell us about her physicalness and what about her attracted you to her. And he said, yeah, I was definitely attracted to her. But also, and he talked about the content of her character. Way to go, David. He said that when he met Christine, it was instant. And when Suki asked him, how is Christine different from the other women? Again, inappropriate question, comparing her to women that he's dated before. But he said, Christine comes with no drama.
Crazy. Ex-husband.
Now, Christine's on a reality TV show about a polygamous family with an absolutely crazy husband and an evil sister wife. So, no drama. I'm dying to know the other women that he dated. But Christine pointed out she's divorced from all that now. None of that's part of her life. Now it's just her with her kids having a good time. And she said, my life now doesn't contain all the drama. How good for her. Suki asks another inappropriate question to David. Do you prefer blondes? And he squashes it by just telling a joke and saying, well, at one point I was a blonde. You can't tell. And they laugh, and then that's it. He doesn't say anymore. So Suki moves on. What's he going to say? I mean, maybe his ex-wife was a brunette. Maybe that's what he liked. But Christine's a blonde. What's he going to say if he likes brunettes more? Oh, well, I like brunettes more, but we fell in love, so it's okay. It was a dumb question. It was a dumb question. And if he did like blondes and she's a blonde, so what information does that give anybody? Who cares? Okay, moving on. Suki asked David, are you intimidated at all by any of this? Meaning the cameras and the light, and you're here being interviewed, you're going to be on national television and everything. And he gave the most beautiful and perfect answer. And he just said no.
I knew what I I know that there's an end to all this down the road, and that's the person that I want to grow old with. Oh,
I know.
Like, this is short-lived. I fall in love with Christine. I know who she is. This is the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. This isn't going to be here for long, but she's going to be with me forever.
That was beautiful.
That's right. I don't think Cody and Robin are aware
As far
that
as
this
body,
is going to go away.
the look, I went bald, tattoos, and driving
They're
motorcycle.
spending
That's the
and
vision.
living their lives like the money trees are going to keep growing. We had a clip from the past of Christine talking about dating, and this goes into the meeting at Valentine's Day when all her kids were there and they were doing the painting, and Tony brings up, and maybe it was McKelty at that one. Anyway, the two of them are always asking their mom about dating and what's her type and has she started dating, etc., etc., etc. And in the talking head of that, she was describing what her perfect man would look like. And she said that he would be bald, own a motorcycle, and have tattoos, of which David hits all of them. He doesn't currently have the motorcycle anymore, but he once did.
Perfect.
So that scene on Valentine's Day that we've seen before in previous episodes gets replayed. And in the small little box on the screen, we have Christine and David watching it and reacting. And then we have Cody. So it's flipping back and forth between their reactions. And Cody has a very interesting reaction. At the beginning of it, he's just smiling and he's watching it. And then McKelty speaks up. She is asking her mom what kind of guy she wants to date with, what's her type, and Christine basically says, I just want somebody who's attracted to me. I've been with somebody who hasn't been attracted to me all these years. I really just want to feel loved and attractive to somebody.
Can't argue with that.
And McKelty responds with, I just don't get that at all, Mom, because you're gorgeous. Cody rolls his eyes. Kid you not. He did not like McKelty giving a compliment to her mom.
I was married to someone who apparently wasn't physically attractive to me. And the biggest reason why I haven't dated is because I don't get that. The biggest reason I haven't dated is because it's a self-esteem hit. And honestly, it's been hard to get over that. But when did you know that? You're gorgeous.
The biggest reason I left.
And I will say from that point on, Cody was squinting with those evil eyes as he was watching the rest of this video scene. Like, he was pissed, and he's just staring like this at the rest of it. McKelty acknowledges that her mom has been living with a guy who has not been into her all this time, and she said that that does suck. He is not happy that McKelty is giving compassion and understanding to her mom.
So I understand you're scared and stuff because you were married for 25-ish years. The guy you were married with was never into it. Like, that sucks. But that's his problem, not yours.
And I could get full scoops of ice cream. I might go.
Everything she's saying is truth. Everything Christine is saying truth. I mean, this has been out. Cody has said these things about Christine over and over and over again. In fact, he put in the book that came out like the first year of Sister Wives, 15 years ago. He wrote in a book where all his kids could read it that he was not attracted to Christine when he married her. In fact, they were on their honeymoon and she got some nachos when they stopped at a gas station, and he was disgusted and repulsed by watching this chubby little girl next to him wolf down these nachos. Nothing could be more demoralizing and mean. I just remember being shocked when I first heard. I'm still shocked that he said that. That's how long ago. And that book was 15 years ago, but he was talking about life 15 years before that. He's never been attracted to her. And the last couple seasons, he's been saying over and over again that he never loved her either. Yet, when McKelty shows love and support to Christine and says, I hope you can find somebody who does that for you, he is upset. He's a messed up man. He is.
You're whooped, you know that? You really whooped.
Christine talks about the fact that not only does David have tattoos, but the two of them went together and got matching tattoos. Right over their heart, they both got a Celtic symbol that means new beginnings, which is sweet.
Ooh, how romantic.
Suki points out that she thinks that Christine completely manifested David. And you know what? You can't argue with that. He checks every single box of physical appearance for Christine and content of character as well. He is a good guy, unless he is a mastermind deceiver, of which I will be the first to say I am deceived, because I really think he's a good guy. Christine acknowledges that in her confessionals this year, she has been talking about how she was in a loveless marriage and how she was married to somebody who wasn't attracted to her, and that how she wants that to be different in her life going forward. And she did that specifically because she knows that her kids knew that all this time about their relationship, and she wanted to document for them, and probably for other women in the world who are in that situation, that they can change things and make it better.
I am breaking the cycle.
She says when you're with somebody like that, you need to do something different. So right after they see this clip, Cody shares that he didn't like that clip at all.
Happy that she's on her path. But that scene bothers me because she's right there asking for my children to side with her against me.
And he says, she's asking the kids to side with her against me. What? What? Did TLC show you a different clip than we just saw? Because that never happened.
What just happened?
So Suki's shaking her head no in confusion and disagreement with Cody, and he says,
nobody else sees it. Maybe I'm just delusional.
well, maybe I'm delusional. But then he completely disregards that comment and the reaction of Suki, and off he goes, off to the races.
But once again, I got a problem with her kind of setting my kids against me in order to gain favor with her. And that's what I see happening there.
Cody has to keep spilling out of his mouth all of his feelings and frustrations. He heard one little thing in this video clip and has a whole story all figured out in his head about how horrible Christine is and how she's turning his kids against him. I just want to say, all she's ever done was let them know what he has said and what he has done, and she's just reiterated things that have been on the television show or that are in their book that Cody wrote.
Fact.
But does he think they never saw any of that or read it? I don't know where this anger is coming from. So Cody says it again.
How do you, in what respect, what aspect?
McKelty, in order to have favor with Christine, is siding against me on this whole story. McKelty's like, yes, I mean, she's joining Christine in the criticism of me because I didn't love her.
And Suki's confused, so she says, in what respect? I don't understand you. Explain this to me. And Cody goes on to give an answer that is untrue and never happened. Again, I don't know if he's that delusional or if he's that manipulative. Does he really believe what he's saying? Or is he just so angry that he's manipulating his environment? Sometimes I think one, sometimes I think the other. Maybe it's a little of both, which is really scary, right?
Okay, he's just some lying, crazy lunatic. He's crazy. This guy's crazy.
Cody said that Christine is joining in the criticism of him because he didn't love her. Okay, that's fair. He's admitting he didn't love her, which he's said many, many times, and that Christine is criticizing him, and McKelty's joining in, talking about how he didn't love her.
Okay, good. What's the problem?
Facts. What's the problem? He says a bunch of words and sentences. The sentences actually make sense independent, but they don't make sense together. This is his going on and explaining further what he's extrapolated from watching this video clip, and explaining his anger and justifying him saying that his ex-wife is pitting his kids against him. And he says, I was attached to her, and in the eyes of my children, I was with her. She told them that I wasn't. And this is why he's upset.
I was attached to her, and in the eyes of my children, I was there and I was with her. She told them that I wasn't. What she did was wrong.
What?
He says what she did was wrong. What did she do? That doesn't make any sense. Like, there's two ways to read this, okay? He said, I was attached to her, and in the eyes of my children, I was with her. So that could mean in terms of the spiritual marriage, I was attached to her spiritually. In the eyes of my children, I was with her in a marriage. And she told them that I wasn't. Well, she was. I don't think Christine ever said, I was never married to your father. That never happened. The other way you can read it is he was saying I was attached to her, like in love with her. And in the eyes of my children, I was emotionally attached to her. And then she told them that I wasn't. And that was wrong.
But you weren't.
It's true that she's now telling them that there was a disconnect, but there never was. And you admitted there never was. So both of those don't make sense. Either one is a lie. You're a mess, Cody. I'm so glad you're not my mess. I would go insane living with you and trying to figure out what you were saying on a daily basis. It's maddening.
You drive me crazy.
So as I said, he ended it with, what she did was wrong. Okay. She knew anything wrong. He just wants to say something negative about her. He's just itching to. He can't help himself, even though it doesn't make sense whatsoever. Let's go on. Cody goes on to say that he is happy that Christine has found love, but he cannot forgive her for pitting his children against him. Let's circle back again. Oh, I'm happy that she found love, but I can't forgive her for pitting those kids against me. She never did. All she ever did was speak truth.
I'm happy for her and her life, and that she's moving forward and that she's going to find love. I'm happy for that. But I cannot forgive, at least not right now, the fact that she has pit my children against me.
Lies, all lies. She has not pitted your kids against you, Cody. You have pitted your kids against you. Truth. And she may talk about it with them, as she indicated in other episodes. She doesn't bring things up to them as much as she is a sounding board, because they're so frustrated with Cody that they go to their mother and talk to her about it. And she allows them to do that because she's a good mother. And nobody can speak to you, Cody. Not even Suki can speak to you because you keep cutting her off.
Interrupting!
I digress. Cody goes on to justify what he's saying by saying, she's doing this in a very subtle but real way.
But I cannot forgive, at least not right now, the fact that she has pit my children against me in a very subtle but real way. And that bothers me.
So subtle that even Suki or anybody else can see it. But it's there. And I love it because this is a real patronizing and demeaning comment. She is pitting my kids against me, but it's a very subtle and real way. So if you can't see it, you're just not able to pick up on the nuances of language and see how she's doing this in a subtle way, because she is.
Right.
He's so demeaning. It's like saying, if you don't get it, Suki, I understand, woman brain. It's happening. It's subtle. You have to understand the subtleties of language to pick it up. Okay, I just want to tell you, master's degree, speech language pathology. No subtlety happening there. All in your head. You could use an analyzation by a psychologist to help you work through this, Cody. And he goes on to say, that bothers me.
And that bothers me.
Well, you've made it up yourself, so you're creating your own anxiety and angst. Stop making stuff up that isn't true, and it won't bother you. What a novel idea.
Why didn't I think of that?
And then he goes on to recite the script that he used before about how Christine can prove her love for David.
Again?
This is how we know he had this all memorized coming into this, because he's using it again to answer this question. I bet he doesn't even remember he used it to answer the previous question. So he doesn't say this time that Christine must stop talking negatively about Robin to prove her love for David. Now he's saying Christine must stop trash talking me on the show and to my children, or she doesn't love David.
Now, if she's really in love, which I hope is the real story, that should all end. Her trash talking me to my children, her trash talking me on this show should all end.
Cody goes on to say she should be over this right now. And Suki gives the response, oh, I think she is. So that was good. That was good.
Because if she's in love, she should be over it.
I think she is.
I hope so.
We cut to Suki talking to Christine. She says, you've said before that Cody doesn't like kissing you, and could you expand on that? And Christine says, yes. He didn't like kissing me. It was just really obvious. Anytime I wanted to make out, he didn't want to. He never wanted to kiss me. And so I thought I was a bad kisser. And I was very nervous because of that to kiss again, of which David turns and looks at her and says, you're a great kisser. It was a sweet moment. He's good to her. And then Suki goes on to ask David, do you have great making out sessions?
That is totally inappropriate.
So weird. I didn't even write down the response. I think they just left it off. I mean,
Fine.
Okay.
Maybe we should just move on.
She ends this conversation by talking to Christine and asking Christine, how many different scoops of ice cream flavors did you try? That goes back to the whole conversation with Tony, where he was saying, Christine, get out there and try all the different kind of flavors. You don't know what you like until you try everything. And she's like, I'm not going to be trying all the different flavors. Not going to happen. Maybe a taste here and there, but like not a whole scoop of anything. Like, come on, Tony. And then he said, or McKelty said, Tony's tried all the different flavors.
So disgusting. Ew.
Lies. Tony's not a woman's man any more than Cody is.
Maybe less.
So Christine has grown up enough to not answer that and just say nothing that mattered. And then Suki said, well, is he your mint chocolate chip? Because that was her favorite ice cream flavor. And she's like, oh, he's better than mint chocolate chip. Another good response to a terrible question.
Who is writing these questions?
This episode is full of terrible questions. There's so much content and information they could have asked these people, and we are getting these mundane, stupid, ridiculous, get-to-know-you questions with people after watching them for 18 seasons. I hate it. I hate it. Is he your mint chocolate chip? I mean, come on. She's marrying him. Yes, whatever the favorite ice cream flavor is, that would be what he is. Move on and ask something significant. This entire series, not one question about finances or Coyote Pass.
No way.
Not one. And yet we're asking about ice cream flavors. It's maddening. So now we cut to Suki talking to Cody. And she says, do you remember when you said Christine was Machiavellian? Cody says, yes, I still believe that. And then he says a bunch of sentences which don't make sense together, but I will read them to you for our pleasure. For those of you who keep writing down below, I love how you analyze his grammar. Thank you very much. I'm afraid that I am really turning off a bunch of people. If you're new to my channel, I am a speech language pathologist. And so Cody's language and his speech and his sentence patterns and his way of thinking, I can't just let it slide without pointing out how absurd and ridiculous it is.
Okay, I forgive you.
Okay, let's go on. Cody says, maybe she won't be like that with David because I'm the bad guy now. But my experience with her was Machiavellian.
Yes, I still believe that.
Well, I asked
maybe
David.
she won't do it to him. I'm just the bad guy now. So the experience I had was Machiavellian.
So is he trying to say that she acts Machiavellian sometimes, but not all the times, but only with people that she doesn't like, and he's currently the bad guy, so she's going to be Machiavellian with him, but not with David because she's in love with David? Maybe that's what he's trying to say here. I don't know. Doesn't make sense. I mean, if somebody's Machiavellian, they just are. A Machiavellian person is somebody that will do anything to get what they want. That's where it comes from. He's kind of using it as just like somebody who's backstabbing and conniving, which is a part of being Machiavellian. And to get whatever you want, that's part of what you would do, but that's not really the definition of it. I think he's using it inappropriately. Surprise! But I mean, it's okay. It's not 100% correct, but we understand what he's getting at, right? I'm going to give him a pass on this one.
But when you...
I mean, Machiavelli was a very evil, mean man. It's really a terrible insult to call somebody Machiavellian. I'll just throw that out there. So anyway, he goes on to say, if she's not Machiavellian, then she is in love. Unless she's Machiavellian to get her way with her husband. I'm going to say one thing and then I'm going to say something completely opposite. So then he goes on to say, which is going to be a very normal thing in any kind of marriage where you're doing kinds of things. Okay, it is not normal ever to be Machiavellian in a marriage relationship or any relationship, even in a friendship.
If she's not, then she is in love, unless she's Machiavellian to get her way with her husband, which is going to be a very normal thing in any kind of marriage where you're doing kind of things.
It's a terrible thing. It is not normal in any marriage, especially a marriage where you're doing kinds of things.
Oh, yeah, right.
Let me throw some more words at the wall and see what sticks. That makes no sense. I wish I had $1 for every time I said that makes no sense. Sometimes I feel like I'm being redundant in these because so much makes no sense. And so I'm always saying that. I actually edit out a bunch of times where I go, that makes no sense. So I'm sorry if I keep hearing me say it over and over again, but it's so true, isn't it? None of this makes any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Here's the grand best part about this little dialogue that he's going into. You know how when Cody talks and talks and talks and talks, the more he talks, the more trouble he gets himself into, as does Robin. This is what Cody says next.
You're not gonna believe this.
And years to come, if we all become friends, David might be pulling me aside and go, dude, this is nuts. Because he's complaining about his wife. And I'll say, dude, don't talk to me about it.
And years to come, if we all become friends, David might be pulling me aside and going, dude, this is nuts. Because he's complaining about his wife. And I'll say, dude, be loyal to your wife. Don't talk to me about it.
Because guys normally like to complain about their wives to each other. And he ends it with just laughing. No. First of all, I don't think guys love to just complain about their wives. If they do, there's a problem in the marriage. The guys I know who get together, they talk sports, football, yard work, politics, hobbies that they're interested in. They don't get together and just complain about their wives. But apparently Cody does, because he says that's what guys do. You need to hang out with different guys. I mean, I think you only have one guy you hang out with. And then you have your brothers.
Homie needs to get some friends.
You need to get a therapist, Cody. You need to stop complaining to everybody else about your life and let it out to a therapist so that you can have healthy relationships in the rest of your life. This is not normal.
Because guys normally like to complain about their wives to each other.
Saying that a Machiavellian relationship in a marriage being normal, that's not right. saying when guys get together, they complain about their wives. No, they don't. But most of all, your distorted dream and fantasy that you are going to become friends with David and that at some point he's going to say, dude, she's crazy. And that you're going to become his counselor and help him and say, you need to be loyal to your wife and stop complaining to me about it. It's too much. Oh my goodness.
This is priceless.
I love when he just starts talking and he doesn't know where he's going and just some random thoughts in his head come out because you see what his innermost fantasies are. Not going to happen. You're not going to become David's counselor. He's never going to come to you and complain about his wife. You two are never, ever going to be friends.
Never, ever, ever, never, ever.
So the beginning of that little fantasy that he's describing, he started with, all right, here it is. And years to come, if we all become friends, David might be pulling me aside and go and saying, Cody, not go. But his language is terrible. So in response to all of this, Suki looks at him and she says, I don't think David's pulling you over. That's as much as she gets out before Cody interrupts her. Okay, so she's like, yeah, I don't think David's going to be pulling you over.
I'm just going to say, I don't think David's pulling you over. I'm going to have that conversation.
And so to justify this crazy fantasy that he just said out loud and may realize, shoot, did I say that out loud? He now says, well, yeah, he's kind of laughing it off. Well, yeah, you know, I've been trash talked. Again, trash talk, drinking game. We had this before. Every time we say trash talk, take a shot.
Everybody take a shot.
Although I don't recommend shots today. Let's just go with a sip of wine because it comes up a lot. I don't want you to be on the floor by the end of this video. Just take a sip of wine. You know, it might help get through this video by having a sip of wine here and there during it. I should have a sip of wine. I just have a normal drink here. What's wrong with me? So Cody says, I've been trash talked. I've had a situation where an ex-wife and a wife were trash talking me. And that I don't know. You know, humans are fallible.
I've had a situation where an ex-wife and a wife were trash talking me, and that I don't know. You know,
I think lessons learned
are fallible.
I'll say a word here. I'll say a word here, over here, and put them all together and make up. No, sorry, didn't even make a sentence. It makes no sense. So he's talking about his wife and ex-wife and comparing that to David and Christine. Like, those were your wives that were complaining about you. What makes you think that Christine's now husband is going to come to you to complain about her? The disconnect is crazy. That is never going to happen. And you can't compare it to the fact that your two wives living in the same house, sharing the same man, are going to be complaining together. But that's his analogy. But then the extra words are great. I've been trash talked. I've had a situation where an ex-wife and a wife were trash talking me. And that I don't know. You know, humans are fallible. Squirrel. Oh, the worst. He goes on to say, we all make huge mistakes. And in a marriage, you forgive those mistakes because everybody makes them, or you don't have a marriage.
We all make huge mistakes. And in a marriage, you forgive those mistakes because everybody makes them, or you don't have a marriage.
First of all, not everybody makes huge mistakes in marriage. Just want to say, my husband and I have not made huge mistakes in our marriage. Have both of us at some point over the 35 years made mistakes? Sure. Are we perfect? No. Have we worked through them because we're adults? Yeah, Huge mistakes? Many people do make huge mistakes in their marriage. We haven't. So don't say everybody makes huge mistakes in their marriage, because it's not true.
Hashtag preach.
You have made huge mistakes in your marriage. You could say, I have made huge mistakes in my marriage, and thus I am going to project and now say that you will as well. But a lie again to say that everybody does. So I guess you're implying, because we're talking about David and Christine and David coming to you, you're implying that David and or Christine are going to make huge mistakes in their marriage and then they need you to go to? Is that what you're trying to say? I don't know. It's hard to know what he's trying to say, right?
Make it stop.
I have written here too. What does this have to do with you and David palling up to talk about Christine? Like writing in the side as I'm watching the show going, I don't understand what you're saying now has anything to do with what this fantasy that you just shared with us about David. Okay. I don't know. But what I can say,
In summary,
is that David is not going to complain to you about Christine. David is not going to share anything with you about Christine. David is probably not going to share anything with you at all because you and David will never be friends. Move on to another fantasy, Cody.
Well, that's all for today.
why are you stopping?
Why are you stopping?
That's it?
That's it.
Are you done?